Welcome to my channel. Let me ask you a simple question. What if I told you that talking in English is much easier than you think? What if the only thing stopping you is one small mistake that almost every English learner makes? Many people spend years studying English, memorizing grammar rules, and learning vocabulary, yet they still feel afraid to speak. Why does this happen? And why do some people start speaking confidently much faster? In this video, I will reveal the simple secrets that make English speaking easy. Stay with me until the end because one lesson in this video could completely change the way you learn and speak English forever. Chapter 1. I want to start this chapter with a simple question. Have you ever wanted to say something in English but stayed silent because you were afraid of making a mistake? If your answer is yes, then you are not alone. Millions of English learners around the world feel exactly the same way. They know some English words. They understand simple sentences. But when it is time to speak, they suddenly become nervous. Their mind becomes blank. Their heart starts beating faster. They know what they want to say, but the words do not come out. If this has happened to you, do not worry. This is completely normal. The truth is that talking in English is much easier than most people think. The problem is not English. The problem is fear. Many learners believe that they must speak perfect English before they can start talking. They think they need perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation, and a huge vocabulary. Because of this belief, they keep waiting. They keep studying. They keep preparing. But they never start speaking. Months pass. Sometimes years pass. Yet they still feel afraid. Let me tell you a secret that many successful English speakers already know. Nobody starts with perfect English. Nobody. Every fluent speaker was once a beginner. Every confident speaker once made mistakes. Every person who speaks English naturally today once struggled to form simple sentences. The difference is that they did not stop. They continued speaking even when their English was not perfect. Think about a small child learning to speak. A child does not worry about grammar rules. A child does not worry about pronunciation. A child simply speaks. Sometimes the sentences are wrong. Sometimes the words are unclear. But the child continues. Day after day. Slowly the language improves. This is exactly how language learning works. Improvement comes after speaking, not before speaking. Many beginners make another mistake. They try to translate everything from their native language into English. This makes speaking very difficult. Imagine driving a car while constantly looking behind you. It would be slow and stressful. Translation works the same way. Your brain becomes busy translating instead of communicating. That is why many learners feel stuck. What if I told you that you do not need complicated sentences to have a conversation? Imagine meeting someone for the first time. You can say, "Hello, my name is Ali." You can say, "I am from Pakistan." You can say, "I like football." These are simple sentences, but they are real English. They allow communication. They allow connection. And that is the purpose of language. Another important thing to understand is that mistakes are not your enemy. Mistakes are your teachers. Every mistake shows you something new. Every mistake helps your brain grow. If you never make mistakes, it means you are not practicing enough. Successful learners do not fear mistakes. They learn from them. I remember many students who told me, "Teacher, my English is very weak." But when I asked them simple questions, they answered correctly. They already knew more English than they believed. Their biggest problem was not vocabulary. Their biggest problem was confidence. Once they started speaking regularly, their confidence grew. And when confidence grew, their English improved much faster. Here's something very interesting. Most conversations in daily life use simple English. People often think that fluent speakers use difficult words all the time. This is not true. Most communication happens with common words and simple sentence patterns. That means you do not need thousands of words to start speaking. You only need a small group of useful words and the courage to use them. Imagine learning just 5 useful sentences today, then using them tomorrow, then using them again the next day. After a week, those sentences become natural. After a month, they become part of your speaking. This is how fluency grows. One small step at a time. So from today, I want you to stop saying, "My English is not good enough." Instead say, "I am learning English." That one small change can make a big difference. Learning is a journey. You do not need to reach the destination today. You only need to keep moving forward. Remember this. Talking in English is not about being perfect. It is about expressing your thoughts. It is about sharing your ideas. It is about communicating with people. The more you speak, the easier it becomes. The easier it becomes, the more confident you feel. And the more confident you feel, the more you speak. Now here comes the surprising part. There is one mistake almost every beginner makes that secretly stops them from improving. Most learners do not even realize they are doing it. In the next chapter, I will show you exactly what that mistake is and how you can avoid it. Once you understand this, speaking English will start feeling much easier than ever before. Chapter 2. In the previous chapter, we talked about fear and why so many English learners stay silent even when they know some English. We learned that speaking English is not about perfection. It is about communication. But now I want to talk about something even more important. There is one mistake that stops thousands of learners from becoming confident speakers. The surprising thing is that most people do not even realize they are making this mistake. The mistake is very simple. They spend too much time learning English and not enough time using English. Think about this for a moment. Imagine someone who wants to learn how to ride a bicycle. Every day he watches videos about bicycles. He reads books about bicycles. He learns the names of all the bicycle parts. He studies how professional cyclists ride. But he never sits on a bicycle. Do you think he will learn to ride? Of course not. At some point, he must get on the bicycle and start riding. English works exactly the same way. Many learners spend months memorizing grammar rules. They learn hundreds of vocabulary words. They watch lesson after lesson. They fill notebooks with notes. But when they get a chance to speak, they stay quiet. They keep waiting for the perfect moment. They keep telling themselves, I need to learn more first. The problem is that there is no perfect moment. The best time to start speaking is when your English is still imperfect. In fact, that is exactly when you should start. Because speaking is not the reward you get after learning English. Speaking is part of the learning process itself. I once met a student who knew thousands of English words. His grammar was excellent. He could answer grammar questions better than many teachers. But when someone asked him a simple question in English, he became nervous. He looked at the floor. He smiled awkwardly. He could not answer. Then I met another student. Her grammar was not perfect. Her vocabulary was much smaller. But she spoke every day. She made mistakes. Sometimes she used the wrong word. Sometimes her sentences were not perfect. But she spoke confidently. Can you guess which student improved faster? The second student. Why? Because she was using the language. Every time she spoke, her brain became stronger. Every conversation gave her experience. Every mistake taught her something new. She was learning through action, not just through study. Many learners believe they need more vocabulary before they can speak. But the truth is that you can have a simple conversation with a surprisingly small number of words. Think about your daily life. Most conversations are about simple things: your family, your work, your hobbies, your plans, your day. You do not need difficult words to talk about these topics. For example, imagine someone asks, "How was your day?" You can answer, "My day was good. I worked. I watched a video. I relaxed at home." These are simple words, simple grammar, but it is real communication. Another common mistake is trying to create perfect sentences before speaking. This creates pressure. Your brain becomes busy checking grammar, searching for vocabulary, and worrying about mistakes. The result is silence. Instead, focus on getting your message across. If you want to say, "Yesterday I went to the market and bought some vegetables for dinner," but you cannot remember all the words, you can say, "Yesterday I went shopping and bought food." The sentence is simpler, but the meaning is clear. This is how real communication works. Native speakers do this too. They do not always search for the most perfect sentence. They simply communicate their ideas. Another important thing to remember is that mistakes are not proof that you are bad at English. Mistakes are proof that you are learning. Every fluent English speaker you admire has made thousands of mistakes. The difference is that they did not stop because of those mistakes. Imagine a baby learning to walk. The baby falls many times. Nobody says, "You failed." Everybody understands that falling is part of learning. Speaking English is the same. Mistakes are not failures. They are steps forward. I want you to remember something very powerful. Every time you speak English, even for 1 minute, you become a better English speaker. Every sentence you say is practice. Every conversation is progress. It may not feel dramatic at the moment, but your brain is learning. So from today, stop waiting until you know everything. Stop waiting for perfect grammar. Stop waiting for perfect pronunciation. Start using the English you already know. Because the secret is not learning more before speaking. The secret is speaking more with what you already know. And now I want to share something that surprises almost every learner. There is a very simple method that can make speaking easier almost immediately. It does not require perfect grammar. It does not require a huge vocabulary. In the next chapter, I will show you this method, and once you understand it, you will see why talking in English is much easier than most people believe. Chapter 3. In the previous chapter, we discovered the biggest mistake that stops many English learners from improving. They spend too much time learning English and not enough time using English. Now you may be wondering, if I should start speaking today, then how do I do it? This is a very important question, and the answer is much simpler than most people think. I want you to imagine something. Imagine that tomorrow morning you wake up and suddenly someone asks you to speak English for 5 minutes. What would happen? For many learners, the answer is simple. They would become nervous. Their mind would start searching for words. They would worry about grammar. They would worry about mistakes. And after a few seconds, they might stop speaking completely. But why does this happen? It happens because many learners try to create every sentence from the beginning. They build every sentence word by word. This takes time. It creates stress, and it makes speaking feel difficult. Now here is the secret that confident English speakers understand. They do not create every sentence from zero. Instead, they use sentence patterns. Sentence patterns are like ready-made roads. Instead of building a new road every time you want to travel somewhere, you simply use the road that already exists. This makes the journey much faster and easier. Let me show you an example. Imagine you learn one simple sentence. I like coffee. Very easy. Now change one word. I like tea. I like football. I like music. I like reading. Suddenly one sentence has become many sentences. Now imagine learning another pattern. I want to learn English. Then change one word. I want to learn driving. I want to learn cooking. I want to learn photography. Again, one sentence becomes many sentences. This is exactly how speaking becomes easier. Many beginners believe they need thousands of different sentences. But the truth is that English is built from patterns that repeat again and again. The more patterns you learn, the easier speaking becomes. I once had a student who thought his English was very weak. He was afraid to speak. Every time I asked him a question, he gave very short answers. One day, I taught him 10 simple sentence patterns. Nothing difficult, just simple daily English. The next week, he returned with a smile. He said, "Teacher, something strange happened." I asked, "What happened?" He said, "For the first time, I spoke English without feeling scared." Do you know why? Because he stopped trying to invent English. Instead, he started using English. This is a very important difference. Many learners think speaking is about knowing more words. But often speaking is about using the words you already know in useful patterns. Another thing that makes speaking easier is repetition. Many people avoid repetition because they think it is boring. But repetition is one of the most powerful learning tools in the world. Think about your favorite song. Why do you remember the words? Because you heard them many times. Think about your name. Why can you say it instantly? Because you have repeated it thousands of times. The same thing happens with English. When you repeat useful sentences every day, your brain becomes familiar with them. At first, you think about every word. Then you think about the sentence. Later, you stop thinking completely. The sentence comes out naturally. This is the beginning of fluency. And here is another secret. You do not need another person to practice speaking. Many learners believe they cannot improve because they have nobody to speak with. This is not true. You can practice with yourself. Look around your room and describe what you see. This is my chair. This is my phone. The window is open. The weather is nice today. Simple sentences, simple practice, but powerful results. Every minute you spend speaking English trains your brain. Every sentence makes you stronger. Every day makes speaking feel more natural. And remember something very important. Do not try to speak perfectly. Try to speak comfortably. Perfection creates pressure. Practice creates progress. The goal is not to sound like a native speaker tomorrow. The goal is to become a little better than you were yesterday. If you continue using simple sentence patterns every day, something amazing will happen. You will stop translating so much. You will stop worrying so much. You will stop overthinking so much. And speaking will start feeling easier and easier. But now comes something even more surprising. Many people think speaking improves only through speaking. That sounds logical, but it is not completely true. There is another activity that can secretly improve your speaking much faster, even when you are not speaking at all. Most learners completely ignore it. And because they ignore it, their progress becomes slower. In the next chapter, I will show you what this powerful activity is and why it can transform your English speaking ability faster than you ever imagined. Chapter 4. In the previous chapter, we talked about sentence patterns and why they make speaking much easier. We learned that you do not need thousands of words to start speaking. You only need simple patterns and regular practice. But now I want to share something that surprises almost every English learner. Many people believe that speaking improves only when you speak. At first, this sounds completely true. After all, if you want to become a better speaker, you should speak more. And yes, speaking practice is important. But there is another activity that can quietly improve your speaking even when you are not speaking at all. That activity is reading. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, how can reading help me speak? This is a very good question. Let me explain. Imagine you want to build a house. Before you build the walls, before you add the windows, before you paint the rooms, you need materials. You need bricks. You need wood. You need cement. Without these materials, you cannot build anything. Speaking works in exactly the same way. Before you can speak English comfortably, your brain needs materials. It needs words. It needs sentence patterns. It needs examples of real English. Reading gives your brain all of these things. Every time you read a simple English story, article, or conversation, Your brain collects useful information. You see how sentences are formed. You see how words work together. You see how real English looks. At first, you may not notice anything special happening, but something very important is happening inside your mind. Your brain is learning patterns. Think about a child learning a language. Before children start speaking, they spend months listening. They hear words again and again. They hear sentence patterns again and again. Slowly, their brain learns how the language works. Then, one day, they start speaking. Reading creates a similar process for English learners. The more English your brain sees, the easier it becomes to produce English later. I once had a student who wanted to improve his speaking very quickly. Every day he practiced speaking for a few minutes, but he almost never read. After several weeks, he felt frustrated. He said, "Teacher, I am speaking every day, but speaking still feels difficult." Then I gave him a simple challenge. I told him to read easy English stories for 20 minutes every day. Nothing difficult, nothing complicated, just simple English. 1 month later, he came back with a big smile. He said, "Something strange happened." I asked, "What happened?" He replied, "Speaking feels easier now." The reason was simple. His brain had received more English input. He had seen more vocabulary. He had seen more sentence patterns. His brain had more material to use. This is why reading is so powerful. Reading also helps you stop translating. Many beginners translate every sentence from their native language into English. This creates stress. It creates delay. And it makes speaking feel slow. But when you read English regularly, your brain starts recognizing English patterns naturally. Instead of translating, you begin thinking directly in English. This change does not happen overnight. It happens little by little. One sentence at a time. One page at a time. One day at a time. Another amazing benefit of reading is confidence. When you finish a simple English story, you feel successful. When you understand a paragraph without a dictionary, you feel proud. These small victories matter. They change how you see yourself. Instead of saying, "My English is bad," you start saying, "I am improving." And confidence is one of the most important parts of speaking. The more confident you feel, the more willing you are to talk. The more you talk, the faster you improve. Now let me tell you something very important. You do not need difficult books. Many learners make this mistake. They choose books that are far above their level. Then they struggle with every sentence. This creates frustration. For beginners, simple English is best. Simple stories, simple articles, simple conversations. The goal is not to impress yourself. The goal is to understand and enjoy. When reading becomes enjoyable, you continue doing it. And when you continue doing it, improvement becomes inevitable. Just 20 or 30 minutes of reading every day can make a huge difference over time. It may not feel dramatic today. It may not feel dramatic tomorrow. But after a few weeks, you will notice something amazing. Words will come to your mind faster. Sentences will feel more familiar. Speaking will feel more natural, and you will realize that reading has been helping your speaking all along. But there is still one problem that stops many learners, even after they start speaking and reading regularly. It is a hidden problem. Most people do not notice it, yet it quietly destroys confidence and slows progress. In the next chapter, I'm going to reveal what this problem is and how you can overcome it. Once you understand this lesson, your journey toward speaking English confidently will become much easier than ever before. Chapter 5. In the previous chapter, we discovered how reading can quietly improve your speaking. We learned that every page you read gives your brain more English, more words, more sentence patterns, more confidence. But now I want to talk about something that secretly stops many learners from becoming confident English speakers. This problem is not grammar. It is not vocabulary. It is not pronunciation. It is something much deeper. It is self-doubt. Many English learners do not fail because they cannot learn English. They fail because they stop believing they can learn English. This may sound surprising, but it is true. Think about how many times you have said things like, "My English is terrible," or "I am too old to learn English," or "English is too difficult for me." Maybe you have compared yourself with other learners. Maybe you watched someone speaking English fluently and thought, "I will never be like that." If you have ever felt this way, you are not alone. Millions of learners feel exactly the same. But here is something very important to understand. The person who speaks English fluently today was once a beginner too. They were once confused. They once forgot words. They once made mistakes. They once felt nervous. The difference is that they continued. They did not quit when progress became slow. They did not quit when speaking felt uncomfortable. They kept moving forward. And that is exactly what successful English learners do. Let me tell you a short story. A student once came to me and said, "Teacher, I have been learning English for a long time, but I still cannot speak well." I asked him a simple question. "How often do you practice speaking?" He looked at me and smiled. Then he said, "Only when I feel confident." That answer explained everything. He was waiting for confidence before speaking. But confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after action. This is one of the biggest secrets of learning English. Many learners think confidence comes first, then speaking comes later. In reality, speaking comes first. Confidence comes later. Every time you speak, your confidence grows a little. Every time you answer a question in English, your confidence grows a little. Every time you make a mistake and survive, your confidence grows a little. That is how confidence is built, one small step at a time. Another problem many learners have is comparing themselves to others. Comparison is dangerous because everyone has a different journey. Some people learn quickly. Some people learn slowly. Some people have more time to practice. Some people have less. Some people started years ago. Some people started last month. When you compare yourself with others, You often forget to see your own progress. Instead of comparing yourself with someone else, compare yourself with the person you were yesterday. Ask yourself simple questions. Do I know more English words than before? Do I understand more than before? Can I speak a little more comfortably than before? If the answer is yes, then you are improving. And improvement is what matters, not perfection. Many learners also focus too much on mistakes. Every time they make a mistake, they become upset. They feel embarrassed. They lose motivation. But mistakes are not signs of failure. Mistakes are signs of learning. Imagine trying to learn how to ride a bicycle. Would you expect to ride perfectly on the first day? Of course not. You would expect to make mistakes. You would expect to lose balance. You would expect to fall. Language learning is exactly the same. Mistakes are part of the journey, not the end of it. In fact, some of the best lessons come from mistakes. A mistake shows you something new. A mistake teaches you something important. A mistake helps your brain remember. That is why successful learners are not afraid of mistakes. They use mistakes as teachers. And there is one more thing I want you to remember. Never underestimate small progress. Many learners expect huge changes in a short time. When those changes do not happen, they become disappointed. But real improvement often happens quietly. You may not notice it today. You may not notice it tomorrow. Then one day something amazing happens. You understand a sentence without translating. You answer a question without hesitation. You watch a video and understand more than before. Suddenly you realize that all those small efforts have been working. This is why consistency is so important. Small steps repeated every day create big results. So if you ever feel discouraged, remember this. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be the best. You only need to keep going. Because every day you practice English, you become a little stronger. Every day you speak English, you become a little more confident. And every day you continue, you move closer to your goal. Now there is one final lesson that brings everything together. A simple daily habit that can completely change the way you learn English. Most successful English speakers use it. Most struggling learners ignore it. And once you understand this final lesson, you will see why talking in English can become much easier than you ever imagined. In the next chapter, I will share that powerful habit with you. Chapter 6. We have come to the final chapter of this video. So far, we have talked about fear, confidence, speaking practice, reading, and the mistakes that stop many learners from improving. If you have stayed with me until this point, then I want to tell you something important. You already know more about learning English than many people who spend years studying it. But knowledge alone is not enough. The real question is this: what will you do after this video ends? Will you feel motivated for a few minutes and then forget everything? Or will you take action? Because action is where real change begins. I want you to imagine two different English learners. The first learner watches English videos every day. He feels excited while watching them. He learns new tips. He learns new methods. But after the video ends, he does nothing. He does not speak. He does not read. He does not practice. A year passes. His English stays almost the same. Now imagine a second learner. This learner watches one video, just one. But after the video ends, he starts taking small actions every day. He reads for 20 minutes. He speaks for 5 minutes. He learns a few useful sentences. He repeats them daily. 1 year later, his English is completely different. Can you see the difference? The difference is not intelligence. The difference is not talent. The difference is daily action. Many people believe that fluent English speakers are somehow special. They think fluent speakers have a natural gift. But in most cases, this is not true. Most fluent speakers simply practiced consistently. They showed up every day, even when they felt tired, even when they felt busy, even when they felt discouraged. They continued. And that consistency changed everything. Let me share something powerful with you. Imagine improving just 1% every day. 1% sounds very small, almost invisible. Most people would ignore it. But if you improve 1% every day for a year, the results become incredible. Small improvements create big transformations. This is exactly how English works. You do not become fluent overnight. You become fluent one sentence at a time, one conversation at a time, one day at a time. Many learners quit because they cannot see immediate results. They practice for 1 week and expect a miracle. When the miracle does not happen, they become disappointed. But language learning is not like that. Language learning is like planting a tree. On the first day, you plant a seed. The next day, nothing seems different. A week later, nothing seems different. Even a month later, progress may be hard to see. But underneath the ground, something important is happening. The roots are growing. And one day, the tree begins to appear. English works exactly the same way. Every time you read, your roots grow. Every time you listen, your roots grow. Every time you speak, your roots grow. Every time you make a mistake and keep going, your roots grow. Then one day, you suddenly realize something amazing. You understand more. You speak more. You think more in English. And you wonder when it happened. The answer is simple. It happened little by little, day by day, practice by practice. This is why I always tell my students to trust the process. Do not focus only on results. Focus on habits. Results follow habits. A learner who practices every day will eventually improve. It is impossible not to improve. That is the power of consistency. And now I want to give you a very simple challenge. Starting tomorrow, spend just 30 minutes with English every day. Read something simple. Listen to something interesting. Speak a few sentences. Do not worry about being perfect. Do not worry about making mistakes. Just spend time with the language. That is all. 30 minutes. Most people spend more than that scrolling through social media. Imagine what would happen if you invested those 30 minutes into your future instead. 1 month from now, you will feel more comfortable. 3 months from now, you will feel more confident. 6 months from now, you will notice real progress. 1 year from now, you may look back and realize that your English has completely changed. And it all started with one small decision: the decision to begin. So, before this video ends, I want you to remember one final message. Talking in English is not difficult because English is difficult. Talking in English feels difficult because many learners are afraid to start. But once you start speaking, once you start practicing, once you stop chasing perfection, everything begins to change. Your confidence grows, your vocabulary grows, your fluency grows. And step by step, English becomes a natural part of your life. You do not need perfect English to begin. You only need the courage to take the first step. And that first step can start today.